Hello, everyone. Good morning. I am Dora, and I'm here with Spill the Tea with OYD. I'm the president of Osceola County Democrats, and I'm also here with my co-host.
Hi, my name is Alicia Funderburg, and I am the vice president of the Osceola Young Democrats.
And we are interviewing today a candidate for County Commission, District 5, Tahitiana Chaffin. Hi, Tahitiana.
Hi.
So I spilled the tea. I'm sorry. So for Spill the Tea, we started off talking about a little tea. I'm actually like drinking like a tea that my grandmother made. It has like chocolate little undertones, and I'm Dominican. So for those viewers who are Dominican, ponche, that's what I'm drinking.
Good.
Yeah, ponche.
Yes.
How about you, Ms. Tatiana?
You can call me T. Most people call me T. Just the letter T is good. I'm drinking Nescafe, so that's coffee, the mild, because I can't handle the strong stuff. Plus, it's a really large cup, so we don't want to overdo it. But I love it. Café con leche.
Yummy, yummy. Are you Latina?
Yes, I was born in Mexico.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. I didn't know that. So talk about the position you're running for and who can vote for you and like about like your story and what does that office do?
Okay, so I'm running for commissioner in District 5, as Dora mentioned. Basically, what the commissioners do is they hold weekly meetings in the courthouse, or not in the courthouse, but in the building right next to it. Everybody just knows it as a courthouse, I guess. Where they set forth and approve and vote on issues like budget, infrastructure, transportation, affordable housing, development, and so many other things in the county. So they have a lot of responsibility, and they also hold a lot of ability to either improve or kind of hold us back. So that's why I'm running.
Yes, and for those who don't know, I actually am in District 5, so Tatiana would be representing me, so I'm really interested in what she has to say, so thank you. And I love that Latina power over here, so appreciate it.
All right, so I have the next question. Why should voters 40 and under support your campaign?
Well, I mean, I'm not really known in the community, and I think in a way that's really good because we've seen time and time again the same people get elected, or the friends and the family of the same people that were elected before that in the county. And I feel like at times that can create a bit of a atmosphere where if you're not in that circle, you're just not going to get the attention or the representation or the options that we would if you wouldn't. So I come as a clean slate to anybody that's interested. I don't have any strong connections in the community like others, or family members that live here. Is me and my husband. And even with my husband, if he wants something, it's like, okay, tell me why. So I consider myself a fairly fair person. I don't see, the whole red or blue or I'm undecided or anything like that. Bring me an idea, bring me a problem, bring me an idea, and bring me a potential solution. And we can sit down, talk, conversate, and see which one's going to fit best for everybody, or at least the majority, versus just a small group of people that have been here for a long amount of time. Not to say there's anything wrong with that, but it's time that we incorporate all the new people that are also coming in.
Okay. So this next question, it's definitely, it's affected all of us to a degree. So just FYI with this one, can you comment on the George Floyd murder, and what type of policy can a county commissioner put in place to address the concerns of protesters?
Well, I think it kind of folds into what I just said a minute ago about not having any background in this county. It's funny because I'm former law enforcement. So I served 8 years in law enforcement in North Carolina as a street cop. A lot of people ask me like, what did you do? I'm like, a cop, but what? I'm like a street cop. And they're like, they keep asking questions like, no, that's not possible. I'm like, yes, with the uniform and the gun and the badge and the car, everything. So yes, I was a street cop. I joined in 2004 and I left in 2011. And then I did 2 years with Homeland Security. So that was a lot of fun. So I do have a lot of that background. And you know, I've always wanted to be a cop ever since growing up. But when I did join the force, you do see certain things that need to change. And it's because, again, the same people are over and over and over. So when you start bringing in new people with new ideas, new backgrounds, new experiences, you start widening that small thinking mentality. So when you're not exposed to it, however, it limits you to that ability to say, oh, you know, I'll give you an incredibly simple yet ridiculous example. Australians call flip-flops thongs. And so my husband has an Australian friend and he was like, I love your thongs. And I'm like, I'm sorry, say that again. You know, it was like, oh, what? Wait, I think you just crossed the line, buddy. But it wasn't like that because we're not exposed to that. So going back to the George Floyd concept or question that you were asking me is there's a lot of things that need to change. And we need to start changing that by incorporating more diversity, more just more flexibility, more understanding, more compassion, and just being able to sit back and talk instead of, we're taught in the police academy to de-escalate. De-escalate. They literally beat it into your head. You de-escalate. You get somewhere and, you know, when I was in certain situations and I was trying to get their attention, I would literally just go open their fridge door or their pantry. And they're looking at me like, what are you doing? Hello, now that I have your attention, let's talk. So it's all about trying to figure out new ways how to deal with people from different backgrounds and cultures. Granted, what happened to George Floyd, the law enforcement officer is there to enforce a law. Whatever happened that caused that initial interaction should have been handled differently. We're not there to be law enforcement, judges, and executioners. We're only there to enforce the crimes that were committed. The end, regardless of what that crime was, however, you know, big or however little, however petty, whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony, you're only there to enforce up to a certain degree and use only necessary force to handle the situation, nothing more. So the facts speak for themselves. I mean, there's no sugarcoating that. What that officer did was wrong. What the other officers did as far as not stepping in was also wrong, because when you see something, you know, you say something, and whether it's your partner or your family member, or your husband, your kids, whoever it is, we're supposed to speak up. That's part of us growing as a community. So yeah, if that answers the question. I know a little off track there.
No, I appreciate you going off track because I think it's important that we hear from members of the law enforcement community. And personally, this has been very difficult on several different levels for me because I come from, obviously I'm a woman of color, I'm a Black woman, but I also come from a family of law enforcement and military. So it's very, and obviously you're a woman. So it's nice to hear from a law enforcement individual and you're a woman and you're a woman of color. So it's nice to have that insight. And I'm not sure if I missed it or not, but what type of policy can county commissioners put in place to ease the concern of protesters?
So I know the Kissimmee chief was one of the first ones in Osceola County to speak up about this. And I was super proud of that. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the right direction. Because when you don't speak about a problem, it just kind of lingers and it just kind of starts festering and it irritates people because it's not being spoken about. And I'm not like that. I don't like to beat around the bush. If you ask me a question, I'll give you an answer. If I don't know the answer, I'll straight up say, you know what, I don't know the answer, but I'll get back to you. So for me, not to see an active response from our county manager, from our commissioners at this moment that I have seen, maybe I missed something, I'm not disqualifying that, but it really upsets me and it kind of disappoints me in the fact that, where are they? Why are they not speaking out? I was very open about it. I posted on my page. I shared it on several pages. As a matter of fact, one of them was deleted. And I you know, I had to reach out to the admin because I was like, no. Why was this deleted? You know, because it needs to be spoken about. We need to have those tough conversations. Those tough, they need to be had. They need to be heard, and they need to be addressed. And we need to figure out a way to move past it, not just continue to beat it up and up and up. We need to speak about it, put it out in the open, figure out a way how to come together, figure out how to solve it, and then how to move forward with it. So yeah, I'm a little disappointed, but it is what it is. And like I said, I'm not I'm not like that. That's why I'm running.
Thank
Now, thank you. Now I'm going to ask you a different question, but here's what I've been seeing just because from the Black Lives Matter, and I'm just asking because I know you've been working in law enforcement, but Black Lives Matter is calling for defunding of the police. And as Potter County Commissioner, you guys do approve that budget for the Sheriff's Department. So what are your thoughts in place? And it's okay if you don't want to answer, but I know because we weren't planning on having that question, but it's just something that came up in my mind. I'm like, I'm here, I want to know.
I think I don't know that defunding would be a good idea, because the funding's got to come from somewhere. I mean, it's never going to go private. If we go private, I think that's a step backwards. But some people have different ideas of that. I personally don't think that's a good idea. I do, however, think that there needs to be a little more accountability as to where that budget's going, how it's doing, and how it's working for our community. One of the biggest things that I loved when I was in law enforcement was when they gave us cameras. They put cameras in the car, they put cameras on us, and some people were like, rah, rah, rah. And I'm like, listen, if you're not doing anything wrong, you shouldn't be worried about that camera. As soon as I leave my household, I put on clothes. Why? Because I don't want to be pictured or videoed or looked at in anything but what I want to be portrayed as outside. So in here, my husband and I have our private moments. Out there, I'm going to have public moments. We should carry ourselves the same way, whether they're wearing a uniform or whether they're not wearing a uniform. Because when you're sworn in 24/7. That clock doesn't stop because you change that uniform or you take it off. Whether you're outside and you see something happening, you're sworn to act and protect and serve. And I think that's been lost to a certain degree. But I also think that we need to get back to community policing. Community policing is it's essential. Without community policing, it just doesn't work. I was awarded the Community Officer of the Year award in 2000, I want to say 10 or 11. I'll have to get back to you on that one. And it was because I was the liaison between the community and the Latin community. And as part of the, you have to reach out to people. They're not just going to come to you because you're wearing a badge and a gun. It doesn't work that way. It's a two-way street. So if we don't work together, it doesn't happen. So as to respond to your question with the budget, I don't believe privatizing is a good idea, but I do believe we need more accountability on that.
Thank you. We're going to go switching gears because I think it's a really important issue to District 5. But what direction should Florida head in when it comes to environmental sustainability? There's been recent comments and things about coal ash, which is directly unrelated to District 5. So what are your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. There's some pictures of me floating around in the protest when we did for the coal ash. So I was very proud to be part of that, and because it's true, a lot of the communities still off Narcoossee are on wells. So if we're contaminating our land, yeah, we are too. So all of that water, and then not to mention St. Cloud is having brown water. Ew, like nobody wants to drink that or cook with that or even shower in that. So as far as the environment goes, I'm super pro environment. I'm not quite accomplished on the zero waste because it's very hard to do. Actually, if you try to do it, it's incredibly difficult because everything is over packaged. But I feel like if we start moving in the right direction, first protecting our land, secondly protecting our lakes, because our lakes don't really have much protection. If you've ever gone to any of the Florida wildlife meetings for the lakes, you'll know the amount of pesticides and chemicals that they put in our lakes, and the pictures that have been floating around of fish with tumors and like just weird stuff on them. And I'm like, oh, that looks like it came out of a movie, but it's in our lakes. And it sucks because we have such amazing land and lakes and trails, but they're not being protected to that degree. So yeah, to answer your question, I would love to be able to incorporate or adapt new laws. I don't know if the law is the right way, but at least county ordinances to protect our our green space. Right now it's not being protected, it's being overdeveloped and it's being abused, and we need to figure out a different way.
Well, thank you so much for for that, because that is one of our values in the Osceola Democrats. We really do want to make sure that the future of Florida is environmentally sustainable, and that's something that we look for when we want to try to help out our candidates. So
Yeah.
Now, and I don't know, Osceola County, especially District 5, has like a lots of wildlife tourism spots, like Shingle Creek, and in District 5, Lake Lizzie. I don't know if you've been there, it's beautiful. And there's all these like zoos over there too. So I don't know, that's one of my favorite things about Osceola County. And we are a tourist-driven economy in Osceola County. So what direction should Osceola County head in regards to the economy more specifically? And if you want to comment with COVID-19, you can do that this time.
Well, obviously the economic growth is always a good thing to speak about, especially in Osceola County, which is commonly or has been commonly known as a very agricultural county. With that being said, we can't have agriculture and citrus if it's being overdeveloped. So that, they can't go hand in hand. You can't have 1,000 subdivisions and also enough land left over to properly do the agriculture that Osceola County has been known for decades before. So I know the citrus part of Osceola is already struggling. From what I understand, and don't quote me on this because I'm not very big into the ag world, I'm still learning that aspect. From what I understand is most of our meat is grown here to a certain point and then shipped out to other places to be completed. So my question is, why can't we start and finish the process all here? Why are we shipping stuff out when we can keep it here? How can we bring some of the citrus back to Osceola County? I understand there's a lot of land that's being developed, especially like I said early off, Narcoossee, all of that thousands of acres used to be citrus, and now they're all communities. But we still have a lot of land towards Hollapaw, Kenansville, and all those areas. However, Hollapaw, they don't even like using their water because the soil is not poised for citrus. So there needs to be some kind of, I guess, not investigation, but like a study to figure out how we can improve that if we can. If not, what can that land be used to bring the economic growth and stuff like that. So manufacturing is one of my biggest things. The only problem that I have with manufacturing is that most of them are not very green oriented. So like solar panels, everybody talks about the solar panels and it's a great idea, blah, blah, blah. However, the chemicals that they use in solar panels, and when they're done with it, and the waste that brings when they build the solar panels is very destructive and very harmful for our land. So unless they come up with a different way to do this, I wouldn't be too happy about having a manufacturing company here for solar panels. Even though we are the Sunshine State, it would make sense. They need to improve how they make, produce, and the waste of the solar panels. So that's one of the struggles, is finding a company that is willing to be fair, not only for the employees, but to the land and to its residents that are around the area. And as far as COVID goes, it's been a roller coaster with COVID. It's, we're getting a lot of different information. Yes, no, stay in, stay out, only 95 works. No, cloth works now. It can be in your system for 2 weeks. Now it can be in your system for 6 weeks. Now it can be in your system for 12 weeks. So what I say to that is pay attention to your body, pay attention to your medical professional, and do what's comfortable for you. Listen to our professionals, do what's comfortable for you. Right now, I think they just released us into phase 3. And I'm super excited about that because a lot of our businesses need it, especially our local small businesses. They've been struggling a lot. It's not easy to maintain a business when there's no clients. And I feel like we need to focus a little bit on that aspect to help them out. But as far as an individual, I feel like they just need to take it one step at a time and do as you feel comfortable, not as everybody else says, well, we don't need it anymore. You should do what feels good to you, is what I say, along with, of course, the guidelines that they have set in line.
Yeah, thank you for that. That was a perfect segue into my question. So I think Osceola County placed first or second in the list of most unemployed or unemployment filed according to the Florida DEO. So how would you communicate with the state government to fight for unemployment benefits? So for example, there are people in this county that I know that have been furloughed since March who have only received two unemployment checks who are still currently furloughed, and we're in June now. Like, how would you address that?
Well, I think the problem is the lack of response online. They don't have enough people to answer questions. I've had to call people because people have been reaching out to me saying, "Hey, I'm back working, but I'm still getting unemployment benefits, and I can't get them to stop sending me money." And I'm like, okay, this is a problem because later, when you file your taxes, it's gonna clash, and people are gonna get in trouble because the system wasn't responding. So even though they're no longer filing, they're emailing, they're calling, it's not stopping. So the system is broken, and it's not like they can stop and try to fix it right now. I don't know how long that would take. I'm not a techie person. So it would be the problem starts with the technology, and it's unfortunate because they don't have enough people. At one point, I think they said send in mail applications, and I was like, well, that's a terrible idea, because if you don't have anybody working, then you're going to have 1,000 applications for one or two people that are going to try to go through this with a system that already doesn't work. So if the system isn't working, the website or whatever the thing is, then it's not gonna work. So on that, and you can't back pay. So you can't ask for, if you didn't get that first week, second week, third week, you can't go back once you do get it and say, hey, I didn't get my week 1, 2, or 3. Can I get it back now? You can't get it. So that part sucks too. Trust me, I know. My husband's been furloughed, so we struggle through the same process as everybody else and trying to figure out, like, why is this not working? So you either get, $125 here or $600 there when you've already been unemployed or furloughed for X amount of time. And like I said, they don't back pay. So that's, yeah, I think at this point, our governor and our state representatives, they're fully aware of the problem. It's just a matter of them trying to figure out how to fix it. Honestly, I feel for them, because I can only imagine the amount of emails and texts, because it gets very frustrating when you don't have money to buy groceries, when you don't have money to pay your bills, when you don't have money to pay your mortgage or your rent, and you got kids and stuff like that. So absolutely, it can definitely create a very hostile home environment, and that's not good for anybody.
No, it's not. And according to the Census Bureau, the median gross rent is 1,888. The median gross mortgage is 1,364 in this area. The median household income is 50,000. One of your positions is affordable housing. So how can the position that you're running for fix that issue?
So it's interesting because I posted on one of the politics page about what does affordable housing mean to you, right? And I just kind of let people come in and make comments. I didn't want to comment back on anybody because it was an open-ended question for me to know what people feel affordable housing is, or what does it mean to them. So I had anywhere between Section 8 to, a community that starts off cheap and then it goes bad. And then I had you live within your means, and then it was you move up in the world, and that, what's whatever you can afford. And so affordable housing for a lot of people means a lot of different things. And it was interesting to see all these questions, or these answers, and all these opinions and ideas that people have based on affordable housing. To me personally, affordable housing is somewhere where you live comfortably, not just within your means, because you can be rich and be like, you know what, I don't want to live in $1 million house. If I want to live in a smaller home, that I'm comfortable in, or a condo, I don't need that much space. So there's people that are minimalist, and there's people that are, that they require more of a keeping up with the Joneses idea. Affordable housing, as far as the government is concerned, has to meet a certain criteria. And for as far as the last time, if you're talking about the census for this year, which we need to hustle on that one because we're still kind of low on the scale as far as the responses go. The last time that it was like I said, 1,300 for mortgage, 1,800 for rent. If you're looking at it at 44,000, the income, which was the last census was the average income household was 44,000. At 44,000, one income household can only afford up to $800 or $900 on a mortgage or rent. That's one income household. Nowhere in Osceola County are you going to find a 2-2 or a 3-2 for $800. I mean, not unless it's like a really good family friend, or it was like 1945. So with that being said, affordable housing is not an idea or a concept that we can obtain right now where we're at, because even the new construction, if you look at it, and I know a lot about this because I'm in real estate. So in a way that kind of helps me see things a little differently. The average square foot in Orange County used to be much lower than what it is now. If you're in Lake Nona, the average price per square feet in Lake Nona, which is right next to Osceola County, is about $180 a square foot. If you go into Osceola County, it was $136 a square foot. Now it's incredibly higher than that. So if we keep rising these prices, even though the interest rate is low, it's still not going to be enough. You would have to get an incredibly small house because of the square feet or the price per square feet for it to fit the budget that you're in. That's why we have 2 or 3 people now working in the household to accommodate for the $1,800 or the $1,300 a month. And even then it's not reachable. It's not doable. So I don't really know how to approach that where it's going to make sense for the vast majority without bringing the value of the homes that are already there down. Because you also have to consider the people that bought high and that they're still building high. You don't want to devalue the properties. That doesn't make sense to them, and it's not fair for them either. So you kind of have to take both sides into consideration. I know they obtained land next to the Sunrail in Kissimmee to build affordable housing. But again, if you're on Section 8 or affordable housing on the programs, whether it be SNAP or oh gosh, there's thousands of them. Affordable housing, if you're on Section 8, you can't even take Sunrail because your SNAP card or your EBT card doesn't allow you to take Sunrail. It only works for bus, and they don't correlate. Does that make sense? So if you're going to bring affordable housing because it's close to public transportation, make sure that those people that are there actually are able to use said public transportation instead of just making it look good because it looks good on paper. Well, they're close to public transportation. Well, it doesn't just have to look good. It's got to make sense. So this affordable housing is going to require the community's involvement and the community's input, because 5 people aren't going to have the answer. It's going to take a community effort to figure out, okay, what can we do to actually make our county affordable where people want to come live here because it is affordable, and you don't have to go. And I know this sounds terrible on paper, but a lot of people were moving to Poinciana because it was incredibly affordable. And while yes, it was affordable, now what? You have to sit in traffic for 2 hours to get home. So again, it has to make sense on both the economic level and the quality of life that you're getting in exchange. So I don't consider sitting in traffic 2 hours, quality of life just to go home or to go to work. So it's going to require a lot of work, a lot of digging, a lot of different aspects and a lot of different conversations for us to I say us, I'm not elected yet, if elected, for us to really incorporate affordable housing that's going to be beneficial for the county and for its residents.
Yes, I mean, one of the things that I was struggling when I was, this is just my personal story. I was looking for a house like a couple years ago, and one of the deciding factors, I decided to buy a house in Orange County, and I really wanted to buy a house in Osceola County because that's where I worked at that time in my life, and I prefer the lifestyle of Osceola County. But I decided to buy a house in Orange County because they had an affordable housing program there. The one in Osceola County was very difficult to get. It wasn't easily accessible. I had a network of people in Orange County that were able to help me, and I mean it was a long process, but that first time home buyer grant that they were able to give me was the reason of why I decided to buy a house in Orange County. So that was really like one of those things of why I couldn't put my money in Osceola County when I wanted to at that time. So I don't know, I'm just putting that idea out there.
Yeah.
One of those just that even the first time buying that was able to give me a grant for my opening and closing costs. And I have, I think my mortgage is affordable if that's that. But changing gears, I know that this is your first time campaigning.
Yes.
So and we're campaigning during this pandemic. What are your thoughts so far campaigning? What are challenges? What are things that you've learned in this campaign? And so many questions, but what's the most pressing issue in COVID-19? Like, can you talk about that?
So last year when I announced, it was literally, I think like a week or two before the 1 cent or 1% penny. And I was like, whoa, okay, let's hit the ground running. So I spoke my piece on that, and then the collage happened, and then, one thing after another. So I wasn't exactly prepared for that much variety and that much issues, and the level of, sometimes you're just kind of testing the waters to figure out what's right, what feels good, how can I incorporate myself in this or that. And it was more like a just either dive, swim, or sink. So to me, starting the campaign, what has has been quite a roller coaster. A roller coaster that I've really enjoyed though, however, because I am a give it your all kind of person. I don't like to tiptoe around people or beat around the bush. I have learned that people like to meet their candidates, and I know that's incredibly hard because we've been quarantined for what feels like 17 months now. But doing the videos, and I absolutely hate doing videos because I try to say something and then I'm like, okay, did that sound right, or am I offending somebody? Am I going to hurt somebody's feelings? Does that sound right? Or every now and then my little twang comes out. Living in North Carolina, you get the y'all. And I'm like, ooh, girl, slow down. So it takes me a long time to create a video. And, you're always nitpicking at yourself, like, oh my gosh, why are you doing that? Or stop touching your hair, and why is your eyebrows this? So it's been a struggle. It's been a battle back and forth. But in that struggle, I've also grown, and I've also evolved, and I've also learned a lot from the county and people that have seen my videos and are like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. Because I try to sit down. I love reading people's comments on Facebook. I don't know why, but I do. Any kind of situation that they may have, I go in there and I'm like, ooh, okay. Because when you see something, your brain immediately goes to whatever it might feel is appropriate. But then when you start reading other people's views and comments and experiences, you're like, oh, I didn't see it from this point of view, like that didn't, I would have never thought of it that way. So I've learned a lot through that. And that's why I think I like posting questions on social media. Like, what do you guys think about affordable housing? And my next question is going to be, a doozy, I feel like, but I'm very curious to see what it does, because we're trying to, bridge that gap that we're currently in with George Floyd. So I've been reaching out to a few people. I don't want to share it with you guys just yet because I feel like it needs a little bit of tweaking. But in order for us to be able to move forward and move together, I want to see how this works. And I used to do this back when I was in law enforcement, and it did wonders for me. So I'm curious to see how this is going to work, and if the people that are currently in charge, how they might see it as a possibility or not, and the parents as well, because this is going to incorporate high schoolers, seniors in high school. So I'm very excited. I'm very curious about it, and I enjoy getting people to think maybe outside the box. I think it's very healthy. I think it's very good. And I think it's the only way we can move forward is when you start a conversation. And like, I'm very blunt with my friends. If I don't know something, I'm like, listen, you got to talk to me like I'm a 3-year-old and like dumb it down and explain it to me so I can figure it out. Because when you do so, like, if I tell you I'm drinking coffee, it's amazing, you should try it sometime, but I don't tell you, you got to go to the store. There's going to be, a variety of coffees. You may have to try 2 or 3 of them to figure out what kind of coffee you like, or maybe just go to Starbucks. Have you heard some of these orders sometimes from Starbucks? It's like, and I'm over here like, can I just get coffee and like milk? So it's a very different dynamic that you have to have with people. And sometimes you go into extreme lengths to explain it, and other times it's very easy, but we're not all the same. And with keeping that in mind, we're going to have to need and take different approaches to bridge the gap, and also bridge the gap that we have right now with our leaders and the community. It's the same gap that we have. It's the same lack of ability to communicate with them. It's the same lack of transparency that they have. They don't post on social media. They don't post on the website. The app for the county is a complete waste, in my opinion. If you guys have seen it, I'm like, I don't even know why I downloaded this thing. It's like useless. But, it is what it is. And I feel like if we don't really get to know it, we won't know what the issues, problems are, and how can we solve it. So, yeah, sorry.
I didn't know the county had an app. The county has an app? Alicia, did you know this?
I did not, and I should know this, but I had no idea.
I should know this too. Like, what?
Wow.
Oh, okay. But yes, thank you.
This is what I'm talking about. It's just not there.
Well, for everyone who doesn't know, our viewers, the county has an app. So let's see elected. And I want to know, what is the most pressing issue that you're going to fight for in the county, and how are you going to help solve that issue?
Right now, it's the budget. Budget. More so now than before. Before, the budget was an issue for me, but more now with the complete lockdown and the county struggling at this point. The budget is really, and people might not understand this from me, but I was raised in poverty. We lived in Section 8. We lived in really poor part of towns. I've lived in Mexico, I've lived in California, and I've lived in North Carolina. And in California, we lived right next door, literally a block from Section 8. My next door neighbors used to be gangbangers. So that was interesting. In the early 90s, if that tells you anything. So that was fun. And then in Mexico, we also lived very poor. I was raised very poor. So my parents, and they always taught us how to be frugal, very, very frugal. You have to be frugal in order to make your money. You stretch out that dollar. So I'm still like that. If I don't have, like right now, my whole house is completely blacked out because I'm in this room, and this is the only light that needs to be on. None of the other lights are on, and that's just how I am. So if it's not being used, if you're not using it, it shouldn't be And that's how I feel, and that's how I approach everything in life. I'm like, listen, if I don't need it, I shouldn't be buying it. I shouldn't be spending my money. If I have a coupon for it, I will use that coupon. If I can't find a coupon, I'm that girl that's like, hey, do you guys have a coupon or a discount that I can use? Because I value my money, and I know that at any given point in time, it can turn on you, and you can be in that position where you need that extra $20 or whatever. And recently I left my wallet at home. I don't know how that happened because I never do that, and my gas was running out, and I was in full panic, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be that person asking for $5 at the gas station because I'm not gonna be able to reach my destination. And thankfully, I had a little $10 bill that I had snuck in my purse. That was like, ooh, as a little emergency fund that you have. I don't know if you ladies do that or not, but I always have a little, at least a little $5 bill or $10 bill snuck in there somewhere. And I was like, phew, but it's stuff like that I feel we need to learn, and not just the county commissioners, but the county people as well. Like, this is our budget, and this is what we're going to do, and because we need the most help and immediate assistance here, this is where it's going to go, not in some little foreseeable project or concept or idea or company that we may or may not benefit from. Sometimes if that light bill is due, you got to pay that light bill. It's not one, well, I'll pay, I'll go to wildlife or I'll go to Disney World and then pay my light bill. No, honey, you got to pay your light bill before you go to Disney World. So that's the same concept that I have with the budget now is, first you got to pay what's absolutely essential and the most, the ones that need the most addressing, which is right now for me, traffic is one of the biggest issues that I feel we have, again, with that quality of life. I've sat in that traffic and I'm absolutely miserable. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm pulling my hair out. It is only one day out of the week. I can't imagine doing this every single day. So stuff like that. I know this is the second time I think they've done the 500 applications for rental assistant. And I'm like, that's great, 1,000 people, but have you looked at the numbers? There's over like 300,000 people in this county. 1,000 isn't going to cut it, especially with the high unemployment rate that we have. So budget all day long, the budget.
I'm glad you said that, because that's something that can be overlooked, or that decision on approving the budget can be done so quickly. So yeah, I'm glad you were saying that, because that's how you pay for stuff and services in the county. Yeah. I saw an alligator that you were holding. I thought it was really cute.
It's one of my favorite pens. Oh. Yeah, I got it at Wild Florida.
Oh, I love Wild Florida.
I probably had it like 3 years now. It's awesome.
So how do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making processes in our town?
Well, one of the things that I saw, I shadowed Fred Hawkins and I shadowed Peggy. Those are the only two commissioners that responded to my emails as far as me shadowing them. And I don't know if you guys understand the shadowing concept. It's basically when say I go and follow you at work, and I basically see what you do all day long, and I ask you questions like, why are you doing this? What does this happen? What happens next? So I'm basically your shadow for that day. And I shadowed Mr. Hawkins and I shadowed Peggy. One of the things that I loved that Peggy did was she holds monthly meetings she has a board. She has both a board for the high schoolers, and she also had, well, I don't know if they're all high schoolers, but anyways, for the young generation. And then she also has a panel for anybody that wants to join, whether they be in her district or not. And she brings people that have sources and organizations and nonprofits and places like the ID, where they help you get an ID if you don't have an ID, to register to vote and to get your information, stuff like that. She brought in people that did nonprofit for work assistant where they help you build up your resume, polish it up and clean it up and, you know, make you employable. She also brought that one night, she also brought somebody that did, they help veterans find employment. So they'll train them at their facility to do like trade jobs and whatnot. And then they'll also pair them with companies that are hiring for that particular trade. So I really love that. I really love that she took the time, and we didn't leave her office until almost 9 o'clock. And I was like, whoa, wow, Peggy, like you are in it, like in it. So, and I was like, this is awesome. And it can be done now via Zoom. You know, like we've learned so much from this COVID and quarantine that we don't necessarily have to be in the same room to have a conversation and a dialogue and figure out things from a distance. So I really love that about her. I took so many notes, and people were like so involved, and they shared the issues that they were having in their community and the areas, things that they were struggling and stuff like that. So I feel like we need more of that. Also, along with like a newsletter, somewhere where you're getting the constant flow of information from what's happening in the county, highlighting a business or organization or a school or whatever you want to highlight, have different sections. We're not getting any of that unless the county puts out the information, and it's rare. We're not getting any of that information. So, you know, to me, that's why one of the things that I loved about Orange County is that no matter what website you go to, if you go to one, here's the thing with Osceola. Oh, let me just get this out there because they really need to fix this. If you want to go to Osceola County, you want to see a permit on a house, you have to go to one website. But if you want to see the address or the information on the house, you have to go to another website. But if you want to register to vote, you have to go to a third website. And I'm like, yeah, like I'd much rather Google it and they'll send me to the website than me going to one Osceola County website and finding everything I need there. So for some reason, they've separated each other so much that you feel like you're not even in the same place anymore. So for me, one of the biggest things would be to be able to have that information more readily available for people, than for people to struggle and have to find this stuff. So, you know, just communication. It really is that simple. Just listen and have those open lines of communication available.
It sounds like technology is a common theme in all of the problems, or the majority of the problems that we've talked about today. It's technology and lack thereof, and organization and things like that. So I think that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So what are your favorite places to spend your time when you're in the area?
I love going to St. Cloud Lakefront, because there's always somebody doing something new. If you look at my page, I was out there right before we were quarantined, and this lady's beautiful soul was doing like these little Hawaiian. She was just doing her little routine, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, you know. And I waited for her to finish, and I complimented her. I was like, can I do that with you? And she was like, yes, I'll show you. You know, next thing you know, you're just kind of doing this hula. I don't remember the name of it, but I was just so fascinated. There's always somebody doing something out there, and they're not shy, or they won't run you off and be like, no, don't talk to me. And I'm, you know, for the most part, I don't particularly care to have conversations like that with strangers, because they'll look at you weird, like, why are you talking to me? But this lady was completely open. And then this older gentleman showed up in rollerblades, and I was like, what? I can't even get on rollerblades. Are you kidding me?
I know who you're talking about.
And he was like, you have to come to the center and da-da-da-da. And I was like, man, you are like my hero now. Like, this is so cool. I want to be you when I grow up, you know, just rolling around rollerblades. So yeah, I love going to St. Cloud Lakefront. There's always something cool happening there.
Nice. I have a personal question for you. I keep hearing North Carolina, and that is where I'm from. That is home for me. I'm from Asheville. Where did you live in North Carolina?
So I lived outside of Charlotte in the town called Monroe. It's literally
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's where I patrol.
Nice. Sorry, I had to ask. Like, it was killing me on the inside.
12 years in North Carolina. So, you know, every once in a while that sweet tea and that slang comes out, and I'm like,
yes.
I spent a couple months in Wilmington.
Oh,
like
nice.
last year. So it's you know, like I come back this year, it's like, I'm back, guys. I learned so much about North Carolina. Me and Alicia talked for hours about it.
It's a great place.
Well, really, I do want to thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there any last things that you want to say to our viewers about how to reach you, how to contact you, how to find more information about you?
Well, the website right now, I just posted about collecting donations. I do need help with the donations. That's really what's going to push me to the finish line and help me get a little more exposure, along with, of course, interviews with you ladies. So if I can get support, whether it be sharing the page, liking the page, letting your neighbors or friends know that there's somebody new running, that would be awesome.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I'll see you guys later. Next time on Spill the Tea, we have 2 shows tomorrow. So log on to see 2 shows starting at 11. Thank you.
Thanks.